Hello dear learners, welcome to my channel Embrace Biota. We are studying about plant embryology. प्रीवियस लेक्चर में हमने मेल रिप्रोडक्टिव ऑर्गन एंड फीमेल रिप्रोडक्टिव ऑर्गन को स्टडी करा है। आज के लेक्चर में हम प्लांट एम्ब्रियोलॉजी के बाकी कॉन्सेप्ट्स को भी देखेंगे। We are starting with pollination. Pollination is the process of transfer of pollen grain from anther to stigma. पॉलिनेशन में पोलन मेल पार्ट से फीमेल पार्ट की ओर ट्रांसफर होता है। पॉलिनेशन इज ऑफ 3 टाइप्स। फर्स्ट वन इज ऑटोगैमी, देन जिटोनोगैमी एंड थर्ड इज जीनोगैमी। ऑटोगैमी को सेल्फ पॉलिनेशन भी कहा जाता है। सेल्फ पॉलिनेशन मीन्स द मेल एंड फीमेल पार्ट आर प्रेजेंट ऑन द सेम फ्लावर इन द सेम प्लांट। सेकेंड वन इज द जिटोनोगैमी। In zitonogamy, the plant is same but the male and female partner are present on the different flower. So genetically it is self-pollination because both male and female are present on the same plant, but functionally it is cross-pollination because they travel from one place to another. Third is xenogamy, known as cross-pollination. In this type of pollination, one plant wears only one type of reproductive organ. That is, the plant which have the male reproductive organ is known as the staminate plant, and the plant having female reproductive organ is known as pistillate plant. So in this way we have the different plants but they belong to the same species. तो हमने इन पॉलिनेशन टाइप्स की बात करी। अब हम देखते हैं किस पॉलिनेशन के लिए कौन सी कंडीशंस फेवरेबल रहती हैं। फर्स्ट वन इज द कंडीशंस फॉर द सेल्फ पॉलिनेशन। मोस्ट इम्पॉर्टेंट इज द बाइसेक्सुअलिटी नोन एज द मोनोक्लाइनी। हेयर द मेल एंड फीमेल शुड बी प्रेजेंट ऑन द सेम प्लांट seen in the wheat and barley. Second is homogamy, that is the male and female development occurs in the sync, so they mature at the same time. Third condition which favors the self-pollination is cleistogamy. Cleistogamy means the flowers are closed. If the flower is closed, so the pollen grain landed on the stigma which is present only inside the closed flower. The cleistogamy is shown by the Viola, oxalis and commelina. But in addition to the cleistogamous flower, these plant species also have the chasmogamous flowers. Chasmogamous flowers are the open flowers which are present at the upper part of the plant. These perform the cross-pollination, whereas the cleistogamous flowers are present at the lower part of the plant and is meant for the self-pollination. Another condition is the bud pollination. कुछ plants ऐसे हैं जिनमें pollination during the bud stage ही हो जाती है. Bud pollination is present in wheat and pea. Up next is the conditions required for the cross pollination to occur. As we all know, self pollination को हम inbreeding कहते हैं and cross pollination is known as outbreeding. So these conditions are referred as outbreeding devices. First one is the presence of unisexuality known as the dichotomy. Unisexuality is of 2 types. First one is the monoicy. Here the male and female part are present on the different flower but in the same plant. This condition prevents the autogamy but allows the jitonogamy as male and female are present on the genetically similar plant. Second one is the dioicy. Here the male and female are present on the different plant but they belong to the same species. It prevents both autogamy and jitonogamy and allows the xenogamy to occur. Second is the dichogamy, which is known as the asynchrony. It is a time barrier to the self-pollination because the male and female mature at different time. Protoentry is seen if the male mature earlier than the female. Protoentry is present in Malvaceae, Labiatae and Compositae family. Second is the protogyny where female matures earlier than the male. It is seen in Ranunculaceae and Aristolochia. Next है hercogamy. Hercogamy is the mechanical barrier to the self-pollination. In hercogamy, many different types of physical structures are there which prevent the self-pollination. It is seen in the gloriosa known as the glory lily. In glory lily, the anther and stigma are in different direction. Extrose anther is seen here, that is the anther is turned outward. In members of Orchidaceae and Asclepiadaceae, there is the presence of the pollen kit. The pollen are present in the sac-like manner and do not travel to the stigma. They are carried away with the help of insect. Next condition is the heteroanthy or heterostyly. The anther and stigma are present at the different heights. The primula plant shows the diheterostyly. Two types of flowers are seen here. First is the pin-eyed flowers where the stamens are small and the style is long. Second is the thumb-eyed flower where the stamens are long and the style is small, prevents the self-pollination. In oxalis, triheterostyly is seen. Up next is the self-sterility known as the self-incompatibility. It is a genetic mechanism to prevent the self-pollination. Here, the plant of the same species shows the different characters. बात करते हैं different agents required for the cross pollination. The cross pollination is performed by both the biotic agents as well as abiotic agents. Cross pollination through biotic agents is also known as zoophily. Mostly the zoophily occurs and abiotic pollination is least common. And out of the biotic agent, the pollination by bees is the most common. In abiotic agent, the pollination by wind is known as anemophily. By water, it is called as the hydrophily, and by rain, it is called as the ombrophily. सबसे पहले हम डिस्कस करते हैं एनीमोफिली. एनीमोफिली इज द wind pollination. The plants which are undergoing the anemophily should have the stamen present in the more number. The most important characteristic of anemophily flowers are the presence of the versatile anther. Versatile anther is free swinging anther. Stigma here is sticky and feathery. Anemophily also occur in gymnosperms like Pinus and they possess the winged pollen. So the pollen in the anemophily's flowers are the light, dry and unwettable. The pollen should be produced in a large number and should be small. But in case of the maize, there is exception lies as the pollen grain is of large size. The anemophily is common in the grasses and there is mostly one ovule per ovary. In the corn, the stigma and style are present outward for catching the pollens. This arrangement is known as the tassels. Second is the hydrophily, which is least common type of the pollination. It is reported in almost 30 genera of the monocot. The hydrophily may be epihydrophily or hypohydrophily. When it is occur over the surface of water, it is called as the epihydrophily. Examples of the epihydrophily are Vallisneria and Najas. Hypohydrophily occurs below the surface of water. It is seen in the Zostera known as seagrass and hydrilla. Interesting point is that there are some plants which lives in the water but do not pollinated by the water. Examples are water lily and water hyacinth. These plants live in the water but are pollinated mostly by insects. So the water plants which are pollinated by the insects are lotus, alisma, water hyacinth and water lily. And some of the water plants are pollinated by the air. Example is Potamegaton. The waxy coating or the mucilage is present over the water pollinated plants, so these are the unwettable. There is presence of long stigma which is also sticky in nature. This diagram shows the epihydrophily in Vallisneria. Vallisneria is a submerged plant but it is pollinated over the surface of water. In Vallisneria, the leaves are ribbon-like. Male inflorescence is known as the spadix, but the female flower possess no inflorescence. There is a long stalk in the female flower which reach on the surface of the water. The stamen from the male inflorescence travel on the water surface and act on this long stalk. When the pollination occurs, this long stalk coils and get again submerged. Next is the example of hypohydrophily in the Zostera. In Zostera, the ribbon-like pollens are present and the stigma is long sticky. With the water current, the pollen reaches to the stigma and coil over the sticky stigma. In this way, the pollination happens. अब बात करते हैं पॉलिनेशन के बायोटिक एजेंट्स की, डेट इज टाइप ऑफ जूफिली. पॉलिनेशन बाय इंसेक्ट इज मोस्ट कॉमन एंड नोन एज एंटोमोफिली. Bird pollination is termed as ornithophily. Pollination by rat is chiropterophily. Pollination by snails is malacophily. Ophiophily is the pollination by snake. Myrmecophily is the pollination through ants. And the pollination by human is known as anthropophily. बात करें एंटोमोफिली की, एंटोमोफिली इज मोस्टली डन बाय द बीज एंड बटरफ्लाइज. इट इज मोस्ट कॉमन इन द फैमिलीज लाइक एस्ट्रेसी एंड लैमिएसी. Characters present in the entomophilous flowers are the colorful flower with the nectar and honey guide. The flowers are rich in fragrance. Pleasant smell is seen in the flowers like jasmine, and the fall smell is present in the rafflesia. Smell of rafflesia is similar to the smell of the rotten meat. These type of flowers with the fall smell are pollinated by the flies and beetles. Insect pollinated plants also have the pollen kit. The plant provides the floral reward to the insects. For example, the edible pollen grains are seen in the plants like rose. Another reward is the nectar. Flowers also provide the safe place for the egg laying. Flowers also give shelter to the pollinators and also fulfill the nutrient requirements of the pollinators. The examples of entomophily are important. First one is the pollination by yucca moth. Yucca moth is known as the pronuva or tageticula. It pollinates the Amorphophallus flower. Amorphophallus is the zymicant flower and it shows the obligatory mutualism. The moth helps in the pollination of the flowers and the flower in exchange provide the nutrition to the moth. Second is the pollination by the Colpa wasp. It pollinates the Ophrys, which is a orchid species. It is a case of pseudocopulation, also known as the sexual deceit. The petals of orchid plant resembles the female wasp, and male think that these petals are the female wasp and try to copulate them. Up next is the lever mechanism known as the turnpike mechanism. It is seen in the Labiatae family. Flower wears the nectar gland and also there is the presence of fertile and sterile anther. The insect in search of the nectar goes towards the plant and gets trapped there. Number 4 is trapdoor mechanism, feature of the Moraceae family. The family possess the Hypanthodium inflorescence which have a ostia. From the ostia, the insect tries to come inside and gets trapped. Next is the fly tap mechanism seen in the Aristolochia plant. This plant is pollinated by beetles. Another one is the pollination by carrion flies. The flies get attracted towards the unpleasant smell of the Rafflesia flower. The members of the Orchidaceae and Asclepiadaceae like orchid and Calotropis possess the pollenium. It is carried away by insect for the pollination. Ornithophily is the pollination by birds. The flowers pollinated by birds are the rich in nectar and has edible seeds and fruits. The shape of the flower is tubular, cup-shaped or urn-shaped so that the bird beak can easily penetrate. Examples of the flowers pollinated by the ornithophily are Erythriana, Vutia monosperma, Nicotiana and Bombyx. Chiropterophily is the pollination by bats. In bat pollinating plants, the number of stamens should be large. The flower should have strong fragrance for the attraction. The nectar in these flowers are more than the nectar present in the word pollinating flowers. Examples are agave, bauhinia and siva. Malacophily is seen in Colocasia. Turnip is pollinated by the Therophily. Myrmecophily is seen in the Ruvaceae family. Ophiophily, the pollination by snake, is present in the Erythema plant. After pollination, the pollen-pistil interaction occurs. The pollen grain lands on the stigma and the chemical communication occurs between the stigma and the pollen. If the stigma is wet, it secretes the sugary substances rich in boron and calcium. The pollen grain absorbs moisture from the stigma and gets swelled up. As a result of it, the pressure increases and the intine emerges out in the form of pollen tube by the germ pore. The vegetative or tube cell senses the chemical secreted by the ovule, and the pollen tube are directed towards the ovule by the chemotropism. Pollen tube, which consisting the two male gamete, enter into the embryo sac by the filiform apparatus of the synergids. Here the pollen tube bursts and release the two male gamete inside the female gametophyte. After the entry, the act of fertilization takes place. The pollen tube follows the different passage for the entry into the ovule. If the pollen tubes enters via the micropylar end, it is called as the porogamy. Porogamy is most common and occurs in almost 80% of the cases. Next is chalezogamy, when the pollen tubes enter through the chalezal end. It is feature of the Casuarinaceae family. Mesogamy is said if the pollen tube enter via integument or via funicle. It enters via the integument in the Cucurbitaceae family and via funicle in pistachio plant. Porogamy is most common, followed by the chalezogamy and mesogamy. As soon as the pollen enters the ovule, the act of fertilization takes place. Two cases are seen. First is syngamy, known as true fertilization. The one male gamete here fuses with one female gamete. It results in the formation of diploid zygote. Second one is the triple fusion, which is the characteristic feature of the angiosperms. The remaining male gamete fuses with the two polar nuclei. This results in formation of primary endosperm nucleus, which is triploid in ploidy. In this way, the double fertilization takes place in angiosperms, that is syngamy and triple fusion. The fate of ovule after fertilization is seed. Wall of ovule give rise to the seed coat. Outer integument forms the testa and inner integument forms the tegumen. Ovary forms the fruit and ovary wall turned into the fruit wall known as pericarp. Egg forms the zygote and polar nuclei forms the primary endosperm nucleus. Central cell is termed as endosperm. Antipodals and synergids degenerates completely. New cells also degenerate in most of the cases, but sometimes it remains persistent, known as perisperm. Perisperm is seen in castor and black pepper. Micropyle of ovule converted to the micropyle of seed. Embryology in angiosperms is first reported by Hofmeister in Capsula. The cleavage occurs is partial, known as meroblastic. Zygote divide to form the two cells. The upper small cell is known as suspensor cell and the lower cell is known as embryonal cell, which is large. The suspensor cell pushes the embryo towards the endosperm. Only embryonal cells take part in formation of complete embryo. The stages of embryogeny are: first, zygote undergo cleavage and forms the globular stage. Globular stage forms the heart-shaped stage followed by the torpedo stage and then mature embryo is formed. बात करें एंडोस्पर्म की, एंडोस्पर्म is formed by the fusion of central cell and one male gamete. In gymnosperms it is haploid, but in angiosperms it is triploid. In types of endosperm we have nuclear endosperm, cellular endosperm and halobial endosperm. In nuclear endosperm, the karyokinesis is not followed by the cytokinesis. It results in the formation of multinucleated condition known as cynocytic. It is seen in the Papilionaceae, Malvaceae and Juglandaceae family. Coconut water is also example of nuclear endosperm. Second is the cellular endosperm. As the name suggests, here the karyokinesis is followed by the cytokinesis. In this way, all the cells formed are uninucleated. There is also the presence of haustoria in cellular endosperm. Examples are kernel part of coconut, Magnoliaceae family and Acanthaceae. The halovial endosperm lies between the nuclear and cellular. Half of the cells are cynocytic and half undergo the uninucleated division. Examples are Butomaceae, Allicemaceae and Hydrochaetaceae. Some special type of endosperms are also there. First one is the ruminate endosperm, in which the surface of endosperm is rough due to the hard seed coat. It is seen in the Acacia catechu, which is known as supari or betel nut. Second is mosaic endosperm, where the pattern of endosperm is of different colors, commonly seen in maize plant. Third is xenia. The endosperm here is colorful. It is due to the effect of pollen on all the parts of the plant like seed, fruit and endosperm except the zygote. Xenia is first observed by Foike in Zea mays. Up next is the metaxenia. It is the effect of pollen on the seed coat or the fruit wall. That is, effect on the integument of embryo sac. This endosperm first reported by the Swingle in date palm. Families like Podostemaceae, Orchidaceae and Trapeaceae lacks the endosperm. Talking about polyembryony, polyembryony is the occurrence of more than one embryo in the embryo sac. It was first observed by the Leeuwenhoek in citrus plant. Polyembryony is most common in gymnosperm but also present in angiosperms. It is mainly of three types. First one is the true polyembryony where more than one embryo is present in the embryo sac. It is most common in gymnosperms like Pinus and Cycas. It is simple if there is more than one egg in embryo sac and cleavage if zygote cleaves and form more than one embryo. In false polyembryony, more than one embryo is present in the ovule. Examples are Casuarina, Argemone and Aristolochia. Most important in angiosperm is the adventitious polyembryony. Formation of embryo occurs from the different part of the embryo sac. It occurs via nucellus in citrus, mango and opuntia. Polyembryony via antipodal is present in ulmus. Via integument seen in spiralis and via endosperm present in Blanophora. Now discussing the special terminology related to the plant embryo. First is amphimixis. Amphimixis is the normal fertilization where male and female combines. Second is apomixis. It is the development of seed without fertilization. The seed produced is known as virgin seed. Apogamy is the development of sporophyte from the gametophyte without fertilization. The plant body formed here is haploid. In apospory, the development of gametophyte occurs from the sporophyte without fertilization. Important point is that the plant body formed here is diploid. If we compare parthenogenesis and parthenocarpy, these are almost similar terms. Parthenogenesis in case of the plants is known as parthenocarpy. Parthenogenesis is known as virgin birth, where the development of organism occurs without fertilization. It results in the formation of haploid organisms and occurs in both plants and animals. Common examples are bee and wasps, whereas parthenocarpy is known as seedless fruit or virgin fruit. The development of fruit occurs without the fertilization. Parthenocarpy is the feature of only plants. It is induced by the hormones like auxin and gibberellin, but the gibberellin is more potent than auxin. Examples of parthenocarpic fruits are banana and grapes. This is all about the plant embryology. If you liked the video, subscribe the channel. My name is Anna Sharma and thanks for watching.